The palace may have cut her off, but now it looks like Netflix is next. The woman once hailed as Hollywood royalty is facing her most explosive scandal yet, and this time, it's coming from the very empire she thought she had in her pocket. According to a whistleblower from inside Netflix, Meghan Markle allegedly sent a string of internal emails that have executives and staffers rattled. Threats were made, not subtle hints, not stern warnings. We're talking full-blown blacklisting language, targeted at any staffer who dared to challenge her creative vision. She didn't want notes. She wanted obedience.
But they made a bit fuss. So she said, all right. Well, I noticed and others noticed that her mother didn't look happy being there. She did come, but she did look a bit fed up and cross.
The whole Meghan Markle situation has been getting out of control, not just over at Netflix, but also at other studios ever since she posted that viral video, that pregnancy video.
This time around, the sovereign grant showed that the money that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle used seems pretty significant. So for more on this, we're joined by BBC Royals correspondent Sarah Campbell from London.
Sources say crew members were flat out warned. Do not question Meghan, or your name will not appear on the next production call sheet. This wasn't collaboration. This was control. And now, those emails are reportedly out in the open, setting off a chain reaction that could torpedo her entire brand. But it gets worse. Much worse. It started like all scandals do, quietly. A whisper in a hallway. A knowing glance between crew members. Then came a cryptic Slack message. A thread mysteriously forwarded. And suddenly, a bombshell. Internal emails from Meghan Markle herself, allegedly sent during her Netflix projects, began circulating behind the scenes. At first, many thought it was a hoax. But as more emails surfaced, and the sender ID matched, panic set in. These weren't polite notes or routine feedback. They were, according to insiders, nothing short of executive threats cloaked in royal entitlement.
That really backfired not just on whatever was left of her image, or even, of course, what she actually likes to pretend herself as some form of an actress, as some kind of a personality, whatever it may be.
The people who are running this thing she's doing said to her that they would like her mother to be there too, and she said, no, absolutely not. They said, well, can she do something with you? Cook something, you can do something together. Absolutely not. She was absolutely furious.
Now, we already know that many studios are beginning to really find her very repulsive based on her behavior, not just in the public eye, but also within Netflix, all right? Now, what's interesting here has a lot more to do with the entire Meghan Markle firings situation and exactly what's going on there ever since the viral video really went viral across not just social media, but also within the corporate ladder.
Meghan Markle, she may have stepped down from royal duties more than 5 years ago, but she keeps taking aim at the monarchy. The Duchess of Sussex has made reportedly at least half a dozen swipes at the royal family this year, and it's only June.
One email reportedly stated, "This is not a group project. Direction comes from the top. Anyone who disrupts flow will be documented accordingly." That documentation was later understood to mean blacklisting. Staffers say they were explicitly warned. Contradict Meghan's direction, and you'll be blacklisted not just from that project, but from future Netflix collaborations. Another particularly chilling line, reportedly written in all caps, read, "Any staff who feel the need to override my direction should be reassigned immediately. I will not tolerate sabotage disguised as collaboration." Sabotage, that's the word she allegedly used. For simple disagreement. For creative discussion. From that moment, crew members say the energy shifted. Meetings became tense. Notes stopped being shared. Everyone operated from a place of fear, fearing a single misstep could land them on Meghan's invisible blacklist. And they were right to be afraid. Because what happened next would prove just how much power Meghan allegedly wielded.
Before we even get to the main event.
When the stakes are this high, doesn't it make more sense to hear our story from us?
Oh, shut up. What do you mean the stakes are this high? Who do you think you are? Other than a latte-munching imbecile.
As ever, her new company, the very first thing she said was, look, you know, when I had the TIG, which was her previous lifestyle website, you know, I loved cooking and I loved gardening and being a hostess, and that she basically said I had to keep my light under a bushel at this time because of the royal family. Then we get her show, her Netflix show.
Back of your head. This gruesome twosome only survived by cashing in on what's left of their royal status now. I said it before, I'll say it again tonight. King Charles should strip them of all their remaining titles and cast them out from any connection to the royal family. How could any of them trust them, as far as I could throw them? Because without it, they're just whining millennial windbags.
And how ruthlessly she intended to use it. Behind the glam shots and polished brand statements was a reality that insiders now describe as suffocating. Meghan Markle wasn't just participating in these productions. She was allegedly running them. Quietly, strategically, and completely on her terms. According to multiple sources, staff were routinely briefed before meetings involving Meghan. They were given protocols, unspoken rules that were meant to be followed with precision. One such instruction: do not speak before she does. Another: only respond if she directly addresses you. This wasn't just a demanding talent. This was someone allegedly micromanaging every element of the creative process, down to the lighting choices and set background colors. Meghan reportedly had final say on scripts, edits, and interview questions. And when producers pushed back, even gently, they say they were met with cold silence, followed by exclusion. She made it clear from day one, a former production assistant revealed. This was her narrative, and we were there to shape it, not to question it.
Now, what's interesting about all of this is that we already know that Meghan Markle is actually trying to do whatever that she can do to fund her own programs, to fund her own projects as well. You know, we already know that she has backup plans to actually fund her very own reality TV series if no other studio picks it up. We already know that she's trying to get MTV.
Oh my gosh, I work so hard.
She talks like she's a one-woman band. That is not hard work. Hard work is get up in the morning, get to 7 o'clock, get into a factory or a shop and working for 10 hours on your feet, coming home knackered. That's not what happens to her.
And still being a mom.
That is
still
not
being a
what happens to
mom.
her.
And those who did question it, they didn't last long. Staff who once had regular meetings were suddenly removed from chains. Editors were replaced mid-project. Directors were shifted off with vague justifications. It became clear either you followed Meghan's vision, or you didn't work on her projects at all. The tension bled into daily operations. People walked on eggshells. Notes were sugar-coated to avoid offense. And even basic collaboration felt dangerous. The set, insiders say, didn't feel like a Netflix production. It felt like a monarchy, and the Queen was not in the mood for rebellion. But just as the cracks behind the curtain were beginning to show, something completely unrelated would drop like a grenade onto the public stage, setting Meghan's image ablaze from another angle entirely.
About to. If you excuse the massive book deals, the Silicon Valley startups, the preaching videos about well-being, the podcasts, the speeches, and the major network interviews with everyone from Oprah Winfrey to James Corden. But they've barely been seen or heard at all, have they? Well, on Thursday, they'll quietly and apologetically release their $100 million.
Yeah, Anne-Marie, you're right. This is to do with the Royal Foundation. This is like an umbrella organisation where last February, we saw the first annual meeting. It was dubbed the Fab Four because for the first time we had Harry and Meghan on stage, Kate and William on stage.
It's about an hour-long cab ride, never seen as grandchildren. This show is packed with a kind of spurious claims and hypocrisy that have become the Sussex signature. We learned they began making videos about their heroic journey 6 months before their Netflix deal was even announced, and right at the start of a pandemic that was killing.
It was the last thing anyone expected. In the middle of a growing internal Netflix scandal, with whispers about blacklists and control tactics, the internet decided to detonate a second, completely unrelated explosion. A video, grainy, a little shaky, but unmistakably Meghan. Visibly pregnant, dancing, twerking. Yes, that clip. The one now stamped across Twitter timelines, TikTok commentaries, YouTube shorts, and meme pages around the world. Within hours, the hashtags were trending globally. Hashtag Meghan twerks. Hashtag Royal Drop It Low. Hashtag Duchess Unfiltered. Even some of Meghan's most vocal defenders didn't know what to say. Was it a private moment never meant for public eyes? A leaked video from a phone that had no business being turned on? Either way, the timing was brutal. Meghan was already under fire for allegedly threatening staff in internal emails. Her leadership style was being dissected. Her behavior behind the scenes was becoming the subject of industry whispers. And then this clip. It shattered the tightly curated image she had worked years to project. Suddenly, late-night comedians were cracking jokes. Influencers were using the clip in duets. Digital creators were splicing it into videos asking, "This the same Meghan suing tabloids for privacy?" Silence from her team only made it worse. No statement, no takedown request, no attempt at context. And that silence was interpreted as confirmation. This wasn't some deepfake. It was real. It was raw. And it was now forever part of her public archive. But while the internet mocked and dissected the video, something even more serious was happening behind the scenes. People who had once kept quiet were no longer staying silent. With the clip still spreading and Meghan's PR team drowning in optics management, something shifted. Former staffers who had once signed NDAs, or simply stayed silent out of fear, started talking. Some anonymously, some off the record. But the stories? They were all disturbingly similar. One former set designer who worked on Meghan's series with Netflix summed it up like this: "We weren't building a documentary. We were surviving a monarchy in disguise. That set was a throne room, and we were the servants." Others described it as a pressure cooker, a high-stakes environment where one wrong comment could end your entire career. Even something as basic as suggesting a font change was allegedly treated like treason. One staffer recalled a day where Meghan reportedly stormed off set because a lighting setup didn't match her vision. The scene? A 10-second B-roll of a hallway. But Meghan allegedly demanded it be reshot entirely, twice, at double the cost. Even the post-production team wasn't safe. Editors were allegedly asked to completely scrap segments that had already been approved because Meghan had a new vision overnight. When questioned about why approved content was suddenly being cut, she allegedly said, "This is my story, my truth. Don't edit me, highlight me." According to internal sources, her insistence on total narrative control slowed timelines, ballooned budgets, and demoralized teams. What was supposed to be a creative, inspiring collaboration became a never-ending sprint through landmines. And Archewell, the nonprofit that was supposed to represent hope, service, and empowerment, it suddenly started to look like ground zero for Meghan's collapsing empire. Inside Netflix's sleek corporate offices, admiration turned to anxiety almost overnight. Meghan Markle had been one of their prized names, a royal-turned-Hollywood power player. But as the internal emails allegedly circulated and former staff began to whisper to the press, panic reportedly gripped the executive floor. At first, leaders tried to downplay the situation. A few shrugged it off as exaggerated staff drama. But once senior team members saw the language Meghan had allegedly used, phrases like "override my direction," "sabotage," and "reassignment," everything changed. The emails weren't just sharp. They were damning. They painted a picture of someone not just protecting a vision, but actively punishing those who didn't fall in line. Emergency calls were allegedly scheduled with legal, peer, even with select board members. The fear? That if the emails became public, especially amid the viral twerking video debacle, the optics would be catastrophic. Netflix prides itself on being talent-friendly, creative first, a company that empowers artists. But these emails? They screamed the opposite. And so, a decision was quietly floated. Fade her out. Not publicly, not with fanfare, but with a gradual soft exit. No press statements, no announced cancellations, just a shift in priorities. Meghan's name, once written into development slates and future docuseries plans, was now being quietly erased with the stroke of a keyboard. One executive reportedly issued a blunt internal warning: "If we don't create distance now, we'll get pulled into her war." And no one survives a royal war unscathed. Meanwhile, Netflix remained silent publicly. No tweets, no statements, no corrections. And in Hollywood, that kind of silence isn't neutral. It's deafening. As the Netflix scandal exploded across industry circles, it began dragging something else into its undertow. Archewell. The very foundation Meghan and Harry built as their royal legacy was now tethered to controversy they couldn't control. Officially, Archewell had nothing to do with the Netflix production drama. But unofficially, brands and partners knew the lines were blurred. Meghan had long positioned herself as both the face and the creative force behind Archewell's media arm. And if her alleged behavior at Netflix was this intense, what did that mean for her leadership behind Archewell? The signals came fast. First, a major sponsor who was expected to renew suddenly went quiet. Then, a philanthropic partner pulled out of a joint event, no explanation given. Then came the missed calls. Emails marked read, but never answered. Silent withdrawals happening in real time. Behind the scenes, Archewell's staff reportedly scrambled to salvage relationships, reassure partners, and distance the foundation from the Netflix mess. But some sources say it was too late. The brand damage had already bled across both domains. One consultant who previously advised the Archwell team reportedly said, "The problem isn't just bad PR. It's that people now see Archwell as Meghan's sandbox. And if Meghan's running things like a film set, controlling, volatile, top-down, then no brand wants to play in that sandbox anymore." And in an industry allergic to chaos, Archwell's name suddenly carried a new weight. Not prestige, not power, but unpredictability. If there's one thing Hollywood knows how to do well, it's vanish. And that's exactly what insiders say began happening around Meghan Markle. Weeks ago, her name was buzzing in deal rooms. New content ideas, scripted projects, a rumored streaming crossover deal. But as the Netflix story picked up steam, that buzz fell silent. Projects that were in talks suddenly moved on. Cameos that were locked were replaced. Talent reps began floating phrases like overexposed and not a safe brand. One agent reportedly put it bluntly, "She had a moment. That moment is gone. No one wants to inherit her baggage." And it wasn't just projects tied to Netflix. Meghan's name was being scrubbed from conversations at multiple studios. Teams that once bragged about working with her began avoiding questions entirely. Some called it a soft freeze. Others were more brutal, saying her brand had gone from aspirational to radioactive. A producer who worked on a competing streaming platform allegedly said, "She's become her own storyline." That's the problem. Instead of bringing value to a project, she brings drama. You don't hire chaos, you run from it. In an industry built on reinvention, there's always someone younger, easier to work with, and less complicated waiting in the wings. And Meghan? Insiders say she may be realizing that the doors she once burst through are now slowly closing behind her. But while Hollywood pivots, Meghan isn't waving a white flag. If anything, the next chapter may be her most aggressive yet. Once upon a time, Meghan Markle was untouchable. Duchess, a Netflix darling, a philanthropic icon. But now, she's being portrayed as a cautionary tale. One email chain, one leaked video, one internal revolt. And suddenly, the empire she tried to build in Hollywood looks fragile. The emails, the staff, the executive meetings, the resurfaced clip. Piece by piece, her brand is being unraveled. Not by critics, not by tabloids, but by the very industry she was trying to conquer. Is this the end of Meghan's media reign? Or just the beginning of an even bigger storm? Time will tell. But one thing's certain, Hollywood's memory is long, and its forgiveness, conditional.